Welcome to virtual lunch and learn with Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Cape May County's Family and Community Health Sciences Department. Chris Zellers, and I am the Family and Community Health Science Educator of Cape May County for Family and Community Health Sciences. So joining me today shortly, hopefully, will be Morgan Gifford, also in the Department of Family and Community Health Sciences here in Cape May, but she's having some technical issues trying to get in. So I'm going to be manning the ship here, doing everything. I'm going to do the best I can to let everybody in while also recording, doing poll releases and everything else. So please bear with me as we go through this. So before we get started here, I am going to, as I'm giving you the background on Rutgers Cooperative Extension, I am going to do a quick release of the first poll, if you would be so kind to answer it. These questions are important to us at Rutgers because they give us information on the audience that we're serving and making sure that we are, hitting the mark with reaching all the different people throughout the county. So I appreciate you completing that for me. Okay. Still trying to admit people, sorry. Okay, so let's get started here. To give you the background on Rutgers Cooperative Extension, hopefully that poll is out and you can see it and you can answer that while we talk. Rutgers Cooperative Extension is part of Rutgers, New Jersey's Agriculture Experiment Station. We are a land grant university, so that means we have cooperative extension services throughout the state of New Jersey, and I'm happy to say we have someone now in every county throughout the state of New Jersey. And the information that we provide is educational information that's scientifically research based. So we base everything in, it's steeped in evidence so that we know that we're giving you the best information possible. We are a partnership between the Board of County Commissioners, Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, and the USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture. And as I said, we do currently have staff or faculty in 21 of the 21 New Jersey counties. We are composed at Rutgers Cooperative Extension of 3 distinct departments, which include agriculture and natural resources, 4-H youth development, and family and community health sciences, which is my department. And at FCHS, we provide outreach in New Jersey and beyond on topics that relate to nutrition, chronic disease prevention, food safety, and overall wellness. At the end of the presentation, I will give you some information on where to find me, contact information, social media handles, websites, and we have all kinds of free information available to you there. So please do help yourselves to that and check us out, recipes and videos and all kinds of great things. And of course, Rutgers Cooperative Extension is an affirmative action, equal opportunity employer. Its programs and materials are open to all without regard to race, color, national origin, gender identity, religion or age, height, weight, disability, political belief, sexual orientation, marital status, family status, or veteran status. The presentation that I'm going to be presenting to you today is the basics of the Mediterranean diet. And I'm presenting it today, obviously, but my colleague who has retired, Daryl Lynch, was kind enough before she retired to share this presentation with me. And so I want to give full credit and thanks to Daryl for the development of this presentation. You'll see here now on your screen that I have a QR code. If you take your smartphone out, you open the camera with your smartphone and hold it up to that QR code. It will provide a questionnaire for you to give feedback on my teaching and the program itself, and it would be very much appreciated if you would complete that. It helps me out with knowing how I'm doing, and it also helps me with other processes that the university require of me. So thank you in advance. I'll give you this at the end as well. If you can complete it at the end, I'd appreciate it. All right, so let's talk about the Mediterranean way of living as we get started here. I thought, oh, wait, sorry. We're skipping all around here. The Mediterranean way of living. And I think it's important to point out, as I do very often in my presentations, that, there's diets that, we can say a healthy diet, which means we're eating a well-rounded, nutrient-dense diet, to use the word diet. But then there's also diets that are fad diets, And I'm sure you've probably seen some of my presentations where I talk about fad diets and how they can not be the best option for us, because a lot of times they'll make us lose weight really quickly because we're taking out some type of nutrient, and then or putting a lot of one nutrient in to make us lose weight. But then what happens is we end up not sustaining that for a long time. So I want to be clear that this is called the Mediterranean diet, but you can see here on the screen that it's Mediterranean living is really the way to think about it. And again, just like with anything, a fad diet is something that people do that is short term and not always the best health option. But this living method has been very highly recommended and studied, which makes it a reason why I'm talking about it. But I want to point out that it's a way of living. It's not just a diet. It's just not all about what you're eating, but also a way of living. And it focuses on the countries around the Mediterranean Sea. And the lifestyle, including the diet part of it, has a lot of healthy components in it. So again, let's talk a little bit about what they are. It's a way of living, it's food, activity, social ties. It's based on countries around the Mediterranean Sea, as I said. And the country specific are in a specific region, but they're similar across different regions as well. And it does promote health, a healthy heart. And then it's very similar diet to the lifestyle patterns in other blue zones around the world. And we're going to talk about blue zones in a minute if you haven't heard about those. So you can see here the countries that are bordering the Mediterranean Sea, and they're all examples there. Sardinia is off the island tip of Italy. That's included in this. Ikara, a Greek island that's in the Aegean Sea, but they include Albany, Algeria. So there's a Croatia, Cyprus, Egypt, France, Greece, Israel, Italy, Lebanon. In these areas around the Mediterranean Sea, as we'll see in a minute, the lifestyle that's undertaken is a little bit different than what we have here in the United States, and it is very beneficial for people to use this diet because of the lifestyle and the heart health support. So as I mentioned a minute ago, I talked a little bit about the blue zones, and blue zones are regions. You can see them popped up here. Blue zones are regions of the world where a higher than normal number of people live much longer than average. So the term first appeared in a cover story that was in the National Geographic magazine in November 2005, and it was called The Secrets of a Long Life. And research on this area has continued, and I'm going to present some of the findings here today on the secrets to that long life. Some of the research here was funded partly by the National Institute on Aging. The 5 blue zones that you can see here are in Japan, Italy, Costa Rica, Greece, and there's some in among the Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda, California as well. And it's based on evidence that show why these populations live healthier and longer lives. For instance, in the Greek islands, they're active every day. They eat a nutrient-dense diet, and they do drink wine in moderation. And then in Sardinia, Italy, the 1-to-1 ratio of female to male centenarians is 4-to-1. They don't smoke. They put family first. They're very active every day, and they share work with spouse. So men and women outside the home, and finances. So they share these responsibilities. So it's interesting to see, it's some of the things that you'll hear me say in my presentations over and over again about, the 8 dimensions of wellness and living an overall well-balanced life. So that's some of the things you can see in there with the social interaction and the nutrient-dense diet and the physical activity that you'll hear me say in presentations repeatedly. So here we have the Mediterranean style, which I mentioned already, has family and friends are very important. That social interaction, spending time together, and especially eating together is something that is very important. There's lots of fruits and vegetables. There's whole grains in there, legumes or beans, fish and seafood, shellfish are part of the diet. Healthy fats like canola and olive oils, herbs and spices, nuts, and then again, the wine in moderation. They look at having a light breakfast, a long lunch that might include a nap. if you're here with the county wellness, don't run back to them and tell them I told you to take a nap. But that is something that they, they do recommend. And again, that's that sleep pattern that I talk about, that having healthy sleep and good rest, because our bodies need the rest. The daily physical activity, social interaction, I said before, it's also very plant-based. So they're using a lot of plant protein, plant-based food in the diet. It's easy to prepare food, and there's lots of seasoning. And when I say seasoning, I don't mean lots of salt or lots of processed salt type things. They're using herbs and spices as the basis for that seasoning to give it a lot of flavor. And this is a great time of year to start trying something like that. There's a lot of herbs that are fresh and available this time of year in New Jersey. So, think of your meal to give it a little extra zest and get rid of some of the salt and fattier type products that we add here sometimes. So the pyramid here is based, I looked, there has not been an update since 2009, but it holds true since 2009. I like to give current information, but this is the most current that is available. So based on this pyramid, you can see at the bottom there, you want to be physically active. They're also showing the lifestyle. It's not just a diet. You're physically active and you're part of the community. You're sharing time with a partner there, a meal with family. So there is that communal part of this lifestyle. There's also a space in the pyramid for physical activity. So that's important. And they also base every meal on eating more of fruits, vegetables, grains, which are mostly whole grains, beans, nuts, legumes, seeds, and spices. Oops, sorry. We're stuck. Okay, there we go. And also you'll see on there that they're recommending that you consume fish and seafood. That's at least 2 times per week with this diet. And there's variations of the Mediterranean diet, which now also some people are doing the pesco Mediterranean diet, which means that fish is the main protein. They're not eating other animal protein. So they've taken out the other types of animal meat or animal protein, and they just use fish. So that's the pesca Mediterranean diet. And then there's another one where they're using just vegetables. So it's like a vegetarian Mediterranean diet. Poultry, eggs, and cheese are on there. You can see above the seafood and fish, and they're and yogurt, and they're used moderate portions daily to weekly. So not a lot of those, but they are included. You can see at the top too that we still have meats and sweets in there. Difference with the My Plate in the United States is the sweets have been taken off, but in this lifestyle they have been still included. Because it's at the top of the pyramid, they're showing there's a little bit of them, so small portions of these foods, and you don't want to go overboard with them, but they're still included in moderation. And again, just to point out on this pyramid, because we here in the United States are now used to the plate. We used to have the pyramid, and now we've gone to the plate. But for this Mediterranean style diet, the things that are bigger at the bottom of the pyramid are the more important things, and then we work our way up to the top where there's less importance and less emphasis, and you want to consume less of that. And the moderation part, they're not giving specific recommendations for amounts, but moderation is different for everybody, and it's based on your calorie needs. So it's hard to say what the moderation is in the Mediterranean diet because it doesn't give those specifics. But if you wanted more specifics, you could translate that from, the recommendations on My Plate of how much you should have for your calorie intake, your age, your gender, as well as your exercise or your calorie burn. So here's some information about the Mediterranean diet, some of those faves that are happening. Hold on one second. So we have the apples, grapefruit, dates, grapes, melons, oranges, peaches, strawberries, and lemons are big fruit favorites on this diet. And then for the vegetables, we have artichokes, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, peppers, potatoes, carrots, pumpkin, lettuce, tomatoes, avocado, avocados, and olives. So you'll notice that, they're very similar to some of the recommendations, again, for the My Plate, but these are the favorite ones. And again, they're more available in those Mediterranean areas. But you'll notice in there that also along the lines of the fact that there's also different colors and a variety. So those colors and varieties are important for us, as we eat the diet here. For the grains, seeing very similar again to the My Plate. Grains are important for us because we want to eat those whole grains whenever possible. Fiber from whole grains can help to reduce constipation, and they can help you to stay regular. So a lot of times people will take, think that they're doing a good thing by taking, again, with those fad diets, like eliminating carbohydrates, but our body needs those carbohydrates. They need grains. So it's important to, have a balance of them and keep them in our everyday eating. And so fiber, again, will make you more regular. The grains also have zinc, which have a trace mineral that are needed for our immune system to work properly. And they play an important role. Zinc plays an important role in cell division, cell growth, helping our wounds to heal, and break down of carbohydrates. So good sources of grains, good sources of zinc other than grains are beef, pork, lamb, nuts, and legumes, or those beans. There's also thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, and folate, the B vitamins. They're water soluble in grains. Our body does not store large amounts of these. B12 consumed in excess will be secreted in your urine if you get too much of it. And these vitamins help convert foods such as carbohydrates into energy that your body can use. So they're important vitamins. Again, if you're feeling sluggish and you're not eating grains and whole grains, it could be, because you're not getting a good amount of them that you need for the energy. Iron's needed to make oxygen carry proteins in the blood, hemoglobin in RBC, and myoglobin in muscles. And again, other sources besides the grains are beef, lamb, pork, shellfish, salmon, tuna, chicken, turkey, iron fortified cereals, dried beans, and dried fruit. And then, of course, there's magnesium in the grains, and they're needed for many reactions throughout the body, which include nerve and muscle functions, bone strength, and they help with the production of energy. And then selenium, you need thyroid function and reproduction, and the grains provide that, but they also are also provided through eggs, poultry, and dairy. Good examples of some grains that are whole grains. Quinoa, for instance, is a complete protein. Quinoa is gluten-free. It's a good source of iron and magnesium as well. And it's similar, if you've never had it, it's similar to cooking rice. It absorbs liquid and it swells when it cooks. So it gets bigger like rice does. Buckwheat, also higher in protein than other grains. And this buckwheat contains fiber, zinc, and copper. And the copper works in our body to make red blood cells, and it helps keep blood vessels and nerves healthy. So all important stuff from those grains. Legumes, you can see some examples here of legumes. Chickpeas, which are also called garbanzo beans, are a great basis for hummus, which are used in the Mediterranean diet. Edamame, which are soybeans, we can get them here locally, frozen, fresh, dried, and we can use them as a snack or as a side dish. I love them as a side dish, especially with like a nice piece of fresh tuna. Make a great combination. So they're important legumes, the chickpeas and the edamame. You should soak dried beans to rehydrate them. So I know sometimes people say, oh, I don't want to eat beans because they're packed in sodium. If the beans you're purchasing, you can't buy them low sodium, then rinse them off before you use them. And that'll rinse off some of that sodium product that's used to pack the canned beans. But you can also, you can use dried beans. So you want to soak beans to rehydrate them, and soaking them also reduces the compound in beans that cause gas. So if you buy dried beans, you soak them, disregard the water to eliminate that dissolved starch that causes gassiness, And then it'll help with that. And then you can soak them to reduce the cooking time as well. So I know if I'm going to make, even if I'm making in the wintertime, I like to, sometimes use leftover ham, like the shaft of the ham. I'll make a ham and bean soup. And when I do that, I will soak the beans and then get rid of that soak off to get rid of that starch, and then put the beans in with and make the soup with the shank. And again, I already said, rinse those canned beans off when you're cooking to get rid of the sodium. Sorry, I'm stuck here. All right. So legumes are a lean protein, beans, and they're a good diet for vegetarians. They are great. They're high fiber. We already talked about that. They're soluble and insoluble fiber in legumes or beans. The vitamins are folate, riboflavin, vitamin B6, which we just talked about in the last slide. They also have potassium, iron, magnesium, calcium, and zinc in them. They are cholesterol free, and they have no saturated fat. So they are a good option. Legumes are not a complete protein, and they can be paired with grains to make them a complete protein if you wanted that information as well. Oh, I skipped already. Okay. And then there's our nuts and seeds. Again, nuts and seeds, I always say it, they're great, but you have to make sure that you're eating them in moderation. So about an ounce. Nuts are high in monosaturated fat and calories, and mono is a healthy fat that reduces the LDL cholesterol. And so you want to read the food label, look at how much 1 ounce is. And usually, like we see here, the pistachios, that's usually about 28 nuts for 1 ounce when they're shelled. So just to give you a perspective of that, you want to eat the healthy fats and stay active, again, according to the Mediterranean diet recommendations, especially nuts are great, but they are a nutrient dense seed or nut. So you want to make sure that you're not overeating them, because then you're eating a lot of energy. And if you're not burning it through being active, then it could cause you to have a hard time maintaining a healthy weight. The vitamins, minerals, and fibers that were mentioned in the last 2 slides are included, but there's also in nuts and seeds, but there's also omega-3 fatty acids. These are essential fatty acids that the body does not make. Omega-3s are beneficial for our heart health. They lower triglycerides, which is a fat that the body can, a fat in the body that can contribute to heart disease if it's higher than normal. And they also reduce blood clotting and play an important role in brain function. Vitamin E is also contained in nuts and seeds, and that vitamin E is an antioxidant. It helps our immune system, and it plays a role in red blood cell formation. When you're eating nuts and seeds, I know they're good, but you want to try to avoid candy ones that are roasted or like heavily roasted nuts. They put extra calories on. So if you're trying to, keep an eye on that. And seeds such as sesame seeds are also used in the Mediterranean diet. That's what tahini is made of, if anybody wants to know that. So if you're curious. All right. To zoom in a little bit here on the healthy fats, unhealthy fats, such as saturated fats, are discouraged in the Mediterranean diet. Foods high in saturated fats are limited in the Mediterranean diet, and saturated fats are fats that raise your cholesterol. So you want to stay away from the saturated fats because it can contribute to heart disease if eaten in large amounts and if it's eaten often. Some foods that contain saturated fats are animal products, such as beef, pork, lamb, whole milk, butter, ice cream. And that's why on the Mediterranean diet or the Mediterranean pyramid, they're higher up because, again, this diet helps to promote heart health. So we want to watch that. Trans fats are found in processed foods, and they are on the label as partially hydrogenated oil in that ingredients label. And even if they say they have 0 on the nutrition facts label, if you look in the ingredients, it might still be listed because there's a certain percentage they can go below and say there's 0 in there. So always check those ingredients if you're looking out for those trans fats. And you'll notice that the Mediterranean diet does not have a section on processed foods on it, because they are encouraging you to eat whole foods that are not very processed and that are fresh, so that they're not processed and containing things like trans fats. You want to try canola oil or olive oil in place of butter or margarine when you cook. Oils heat at a different level before they burn. So keep in mind that if you're working with a higher heat, you might want to try the canola oil, because the olive oil will burn before the canola oil will. So for instance, if you were cooking a fresh piece of fish and you wanted to sear it on both sides, maybe try the canola oil, because it'll stop it from having that burn effect that the olive oil will at the higher heat. Okay, I got all that. All right, so let's look over some of these zones and what's going on with them. Here in Greece, they have the lowest rates of middle-aged mortality. They have the lowest rates of dementia in that blue zone. The everyday food eating, they include fresh lemon juice in their food. They add it to food just before serving it, and I've tried doing that. It gives you a little kick, so that's a nice thing to try. They use dark local honey for their tea or coffee as their sweetener. And local honey, is a good addition. They use herbs. I mentioned that in the beginning, like rosemary, mint, or marjoram to recipes to make them tastier and more appealing. They are using that olive oil that I talked about for cooking, and a splash for some foods just before serving them. Chickpeas are used in stews, soups, or hummus. So look out for those chickpeas. Rinse them off if you're getting them in a can, right? Black-eyed peas, they add to any dish for extra protein. And so they're just a quick shot of what they're looking at. And I'm going to send you afterwards to everybody that was registered. I'll send you some more information to break this down so you don't have to memorize it all. So in Okinawa, Japan, they have the highest life expectancy rates in the world. Their everyday foods include tofu, which is high protein, low cholesterol, reduces the risk of heart disease. Tofu is soybeans. They can be found, tofu here in New Jersey, can be found in the produce section, and they usually come in little containers, and you can buy them in different densities depending on what you're going to use it for. And if you were to add tofu to, say, a stir fry, it has no taste. It'd take on the taste of the stir fry, but it would give you that ability to have the taste of the stir fry while getting a little bit of extra protein. Turmeric is high in antioxidants as a spice or tea. And then we have sweet potatoes, which has lots of fiber and nutrients. They're eating a lot of those. They use garlic to flavor things without the fat, and reduce age-related disease. And they use brown rice because it has more fiber. The shiitake mushrooms, which have immunoresistance properties, and then seaweeds, which are rich in carotenes, folate, magnesium, iron, and calcium iodine. Not the seaweed that's down at the beach right now. They buy it at the store. And then finally, bitter melons or Goya, and they look like a cucumber, and they use those in their fried dishes. All right, let's move on to Sardinia, Italy. 10 times the centenarian per capita than the US. 10 times the amount of people that are in their hundreds than we have here in the US. Their everyday foods are including flatbreads that are made of high protein, low gluten wheat, and they're high in B complex carbohydrates. Barley is ground up to flour and added to soups as well. Sourdough breads that they use lactobacilli to rise, fava beans and chickpeas that they use for high protein and add to soups. They have tomatoes, which are rich in vitamin C and potassium, and they're using goats or sheep milk, which are high in nutritional value, easily digested, and then they can make their sharp pecornia cheese to add to dishes before serving. And almonds are eaten alone or added to dishes. Then we have Costa Rica, another blue zone. They have really low rates of heart disease. They tend to be a very happy population, I'm sure, living where they live. They have corn or maize that they ground up into tortillas, and they eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner as their grain there. Squash and corn is a whole grain, if you're wondering. So, keep that in mind. Squash is a hard shell like pumpkin winter and butternut that they use a lot of. They're using papayas that are high in vitamin C, A, and E, and they have enzymes that counter the effects of inflammation. They're using those yams, which are a rich source of vitamin B6. Black beans, antioxidants, are eaten daily with rice. And then they have bananas, which is a good source of carbohydrate, potassium, and fiber. And then peaches, peach plums, which are high in A and C. All right, then we have Loma Linda, California. They have low rates of heart disease and diabetes as well, very low rates of obesity. And their everyday foods include avocados. Avocados actually have more potassium than bananas. So if you're eating everybody thinks, oh, I have leg cramps, I need more bananas. Try avocados too. Salmon, which is rich in omega-3. Nuts, a handful of nuts can reduce blood pressure and cholesterol. And beans, they have a lot of proteins, no or little fat. And then water, they drink a lot of water. So instead of sugar sweetened beverages, they're consuming water for part of their diet. And then oatmeal, slow cooked, contains carbohydrates, complex I can say that. Oatmeal that contains cooked complex carbohydrates, and they're plant-based. So they're an important part of a good grain. Whole wheat bread, you're looking for that 100% whole wheat on the label. Soy milk, not the sweetened variety, high protein and low fat. And then let's see, that's all for them. Oops, sorry. And then here's a little info. I mentioned hummus, and hummus is a good part of the Mediterranean diet. So keep that in mind. It has fiber, it helps us stay full longer, and all the great things. I'm going to put up again, I'm going to release the poll. I'm going to put this, thank you for taking the first poll, by the way. I'm going to put the next poll up, maybe. I'm going to ask you to take your phones out, if you'd be so kind to share your thoughts about the presentation today. I know I go quick, and I will send up follow information, but it gives us an idea of how I'm doing. And here is the teaching questions. If you could fill those out for me, the poll was just released. And then if you fill out the one on the screen there, I'll enter you to win a prize. So let's look at the lessons that we've learned from the Mediterranean diet. Hopefully, the diet and the lifestyles, the reason behind it, it's a lifestyle, like I said. So the reason behind it is that we're eating a nutrient-dense diet that's plant-based, and we're getting a lifestyle and diet that's beneficial for optimum health, promotes heart health. We're going to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables and legumes and whole grains, seafood and nuts in this diet. So think about those as the basis. When you're going to create a meal or your daily meal, whatever you're having during the day, think about how you're adding nuts and seeds in as a snack, that 1 ounce. Think about where you can put whole grains in, those vegetables and fruits, and how you can make the majority of your day fruits and vegetables. Also, they're socializing and eating together. They're not on their phones. They're not watching TV. They're socializing, enjoying themselves as a part of the meal, and they're being involved with family and friends. They're active every day, and they're moving. They're getting adequate sleep and rest, which is very important for this diet. So I encourage you to look at that. Take it a little bit at a time if you're going to start doing it, like I always say, and try to add it in. But trying to do this diet can, hopefully give you a little longevity and create better heart health in your life. And if you have any questions for me, this is my contact information, and I will gladly answer questions. I know our deadline is 1 o'clock. I tried to do this in a half hour. I'm 4 over. Apologies. But if you have to hop off and you have questions, feel free to email me. Located also on this page is my website, which, as I mentioned, there's information there, there's videos to watch. And then on the FCHS website, there's also recipe videos. And there's our Facebook information. If you'd like to follow us, we put out little nutrition tips throughout the day. So with that being said, if you have any questions that you'd like to put in the chat, please feel free. And I'll hang on a minute, and I hope you enjoy your day. I hope that you recognize the fact that the Mediterranean diet is not just a diet, it's a way of life. It's a lifestyle that involves taking care of your whole self with rest and relaxation, sleep, nutrient dense diet, physical activity, and being with loved ones and socializing with others. So let's see. No questions in the chat. Last chance, anybody? All right, if you could complete the poll before you log off, I would very much appreciate it. And I will send follow-up information to everybody that was registered so that you have a little bit, I think I have a daily layout of what it would look like, the Mediterranean diet, that I'll send you and some other information along with that.